Excellent. Let's get some confirmation in the chat that everything's good, going well. Hopefully, okay. After like over a month, hopefully the audio and video and everything is great now. Um, I did some work earlier this week to tweak some of that staticiness that you guys were getting in some of the mic and some of the audio. So um, Windrange Woodcrafts, thanks for coming on from Indiana. Nice. How you guys doing today? Excellent. Let's see, we got 16. Chris, Mr. Powers is here. Just make sure that everyone that you guys can hear me and everything is okay. Just give me a thumbs up on the audio. Hopefully it isn't breaking up or the gain was actually a little high on my pre-mic amp last week. So that's what was going on there. And we should hopefully have a little bit less issues of me, not being so far away from the mic and whatnot. I tweaked the settings. Hopefully we should be good now. Mike. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for coming on. Daniel, how you doing, bud? Andrew from Chester. Excellent. Okay, so today, guys, we are going to be talking about building a stack. I thought that'd be fun. So hopefully you guys got my email and maybe some of you have an idea of what you want to build. I don't know. I know it was a crapshoot. Maybe someone would have something they'd want to build. Else we could try to find something pretty quickly. Yeah, we can try to find something. Let's see. Let me just do a quick search while we're here. If anyone else has an idea, like, hey, I saw this cool effect online. Hopefully, it's already like maybe like a plugin that would make things really easy. That we can like just download and kind of use. Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's peruse. Let me share my screen here. And I wanted to do this just so that you guys didn't think I like prepped anything or anything like that. Like, I have no idea what we're going to be building today. So yeah, I just quickly Googled. Here, let me show you. I just Googled best JavaScript plugins. I'm familiar with Specky Boy here, so I just kind of went to on his site. We'll see what some cool JavaScript plugins we got. Dave, if you have an issue with one of my stacks, I don't really do that like live helping and troubleshooting here on the live streams. But please go ahead and post on the Weaver Space community. We'll help you out, or you can join our Friday Hangouts where I actually do one-off help and whatnot like that. So yeah, today we're going to be building a stack. So let's go through here. Let's see what we got. Text block for displaying continuously responsive. We want something like flashy and cool today. Let's see. Tone, creative, no. Editor.js, next year's block style editor. Vanilla JavaScript plugin for creating smooth scrolling animations. That may be a little tough for today. Hoping to find like just some sort of like a one-off like little widget just we can do. Ooh, a modern HSV color picker. That's actually quite cool. Cleave, it's input. Yeah, I'm familiar with that one. Dark mode, scene, fun, overlay scroll bars, mail to UI. Oh, that's cool. I actually know this guy. Full screen slider. That might be. I'm trying to find something somewhat easy, sweaty, parallax with JavaScript. What's this? I know everyone loves good JavaScript. So, and of course, this one doesn't have a link to it. That's great. Creepy face. Yeah, no. Library let you draw Lego bricks. Paged. Open source library for paginating content in the browser. Focus overlay. Overlays with focus. Let's see what this is. I just want a demo. Focus overlay. Oh, it's not what I thought it was. Okay, this is for defining like focus for like accessibility and stuff like that. I think library for creating overlays on focused elements. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so when you tab through, it's interesting, but we want something kind of snazzy for today. Man, all of these are like. Let's see what leaflet is. Here at maps. Everyone loves maps. Okay, here's a map. How hard is this? I don't know. That's for mobile friendly interactive maps. Interesting. I think I've looked at this one before. And I think I remember this one being quite complicated. We'll save it off to the side. Lori is a touch-enabled minimalistic slider written in JavaScript. Of course, there's no link to it. Man, I am disappointed in these things. They're very niche stuff. Shave, a modern plugin for truncating text. All right, let's scroll reveal. That was something just like, I don't know, does something with an image. List. Lightweight vanilla JavaScript that adds sort flexibility. Let's see what this is. Give me a demo, man. Give me a demo. We're figuring, if everyone that's just joining, we're trying to figure out what we're going to build right now. So I'm just kind of, if you guys see anything that's like, hey, that looks really, Popper actually, that's this is actually a really cool one. Okay, I've actually never used Popper, but I know a ton of people that do use it. And it's like tooltips and stuff. Yeah, I think Popper. Let's do Popper. I've never used Popper, but again, like I said, I'm familiar with it. I've seen it around, and I know a ton of people use it. Let's see. So we can do placement. Another thing we could do is potentially here. I think Popper is a good potentiality here. But let's keep looking really quick. Sweet Alert. Let's see what Sweet Alert is. Now we're getting into some like little widgets here. Normal alert. Okay. Sweet Alert. Oh, Sweet Alert. Look at that. Sweet Alert. Cool. That's kind of nice. I kind of like that. That could be useful. There's all kinds of options. Okay. Let's keep looking. Let's see. Force JavaScript library, force HTML. Nah. JavaScript makes full screen background videos to web pages. Interesting. Okay. How it works. This wasn't as micro lightweight code highlighting. No, code highlighting. Magnolia, no, we don't need that. Flat picker. We don't want a date picker. Anime, flexible lightweight. No. Cleave. Didn't we look at Cleave already? A gallery. Do we have time to implement a gallery? Actually, you know what? This is the gallery I use in Total CMS. Boom. Yep. And the Gallery 2 stack. This is what I use. Boom. I actually had to pay for a license to put it in Total CMS. So yeah. This is a nice gallery. I like it. Yeah, no. Not for today. Too much. Oh yeah, another thing we can do is let's go ahead and we can go into something called, if you guys aren't familiar, we can go into something called CodePen. Okay. And a word of caution with CodePen. CodePen has a lot of really cool stuff. Okay. It's basically like small little demos that a developer has created. And they just want to share cool stuff that they did with the world. Right. So like here, like card hover interactions, you can go here and, these are cool little cards. Right. And as you see here, I mean, here's all the CSS and all the JavaScript or HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay. So yeah, that's CodePen. Now you have to be a little weary because like this CSS, this actually uses something called SCSS, which you can't just straight copy and paste into CSS. And And then this isn't straight HTML either. It's something called Pug. So, this is obviously a very developer centric site. And you do have to be wary. Obviously, these are just like proof of concept things that look cool, but might not work great everywhere, right? So, again, a lot of this stuff is, a lot of the times it's super bleeding edge that doesn't work in a lot of browsers. Like this slider, like look at that. That is just flipping cool, right? Super, super cool. Here's the JavaScript, some CS, some Sass, and here's the HTML for it, right? So you could potentially, take this and tweak it and modify it. You'll have to do a little bit of work because this isn't straight CSS. It's something called Sass. But I don't want to dive into anything that has Sass or anything like that today. I'm trying to keep things somewhat simple. Okay. Scroll trigger. No, we don't want to do scroll trigger stuff. So I'm going to do just some fine, like some sort of cool image effect, what's this? See, look, I mean, check that out. That's just pretty slick, right? Pretty cool stuff. On hover, it shows, the name, links to his various profiles. It has like this inner border thing, and then the background image kind of animates, which is pretty slick. I know how I would do this. It's interesting that he did it all with CSS though. That's pretty cool. Hmm. He's not using CSS though. That's annoying. I don't know. Okay, let's stop looking around. Let's see. What do we want to do? Do we want to do this cool card thing, which might take a little bit of extra work, but I can get it done. Okay, this, or do we want to do Popper, which is like this little cool little tooltip thing? Okay, pretty cool little tooltip thing, so you can have tooltips on things. Or do we want to do this little sweet success alert thing? Never used any of these. Pick the card thing. Okay, Roy says the card thing. Okay. We're lucky because this actually doesn't have any JavaScript at all. So that'll make life a little bit easier for us. Okay. Profile hover effect. You guys really like that. Okay. So this is all HTML and CSS. There is no JavaScript. Okay. I don't think. Does he? No, he doesn't import anything. Let me just check if he imports some CSS. He doesn't import anything. Okay. He has to import something like Bootstrap or something, doesn't he? Preprocessor stuff in the head. Ah, he is loading Bootstrap. Oh no, he's loading Font Awesome. Okay, that's fine. And not loading any JavaScript. Interesting. Okay. You must have all the CSS required in here. Okay. So, first off, let's go ahead and I want to limit this down to just one card, okay? Because if we build this particular thing as a stack, okay, obviously we want one, right? So, and nicely here you can kind of look at this HTML. Hey guys, I'm not going to teach you about HTML today. So I what I'm doing here, I'm probably just going to bruise through some of this, so that we can get to what we really wanted, which is creating a stack, right? Okay. So here we're down to a single card, okay, and hover over it. We got our card. Cool. Okay. There we go. Okay, cool. This is card 0. Okay. Okay, we can work with this. Okay, so let's close these other ones. Boom. All right, guys, ready? This is what we're going to be building today. Cool little slick card. Okay. Oh, it looks like, man, I just saw the chat. It looks like everybody wanted the cool hover card thing. Okay, cool. Nice. So I'm going to move this over to my other screen really quick because we're going to start looking at the anatomy of a stack. Okay. Um, so I created just the only thing I did before this was just I created a little uh, boilerplate stack. And this is what a stack looks like. First off, let me let's show this in Finder. So if you go to your let's go to the RapidWeaver folder, and we'll go to stacks, right? So that's where a lot of our stacks live. And Finder is being slow. And if I go to, I call this live stream. Okay. So I call this live stream. You'll notice all your stacks are normally named .stack. This one is called a .dev stack. And what's kind of cool about a dev stack is that any changes that I make, let me preface that. Most changes that I make inside of it will dynamically be reflected inside RapidWeaver. Okay. Inside stacks. So stack watches. Actually, hold on really quick. I'm going to go ahead and move some of these other dev stacks just to so I don't have any potential issues. Let's move some of these other dev stacks, some stuff I'm working on. We'll move that one in there. I think I have one more. You don't want to have too many dev stacks because, it kind of bogs down stacks if you have too many of them. And I want to make sure things run smoothly for us today. So I'm just going to chuck some of these other dev stacks that I have in here. There we go. Okay. So here we go. I have livestream.dev stack. Now something got messed up on my machine. On your machine, if you name a stack dev stack, it should look like a folder. Okay. That you can navigate. I don't know. I tried to fix that. It doesn't really bother me, but on your machine, if you name something a .dev stack, it should show up as a folder that you can navigate through. If it shows up like this for you, just right click and say show package contents. Okay. And let's look at so inside there, this structure is very strict. It has to be like this. Okay. So it has to have a contents folder. And then inside the contents, there is an info.plist and then a resources folder. And inside the resources folder, we have a bunch of files. Okay. There are a bunch of different icons that are required. Depending on your stacks version, depending on your OS, depending on what size you have your stacks library icons set to and the stacks preferences. So whenever I ship a stack, for every single stack, I have to supply all these different sizes of icons that are named exactly this. Okay. This is just a bug icon that I had that I tend to use for kind of throwaway stacks. Okay. That don't mean anything. Okay. So so this is the same icon, just a bunch of different sizes that are provided. And we'll see in here that I have some files. I have a CSS, an HTML, and a JavaScript file. We'll dive into those in a little bit. Okay. And so that's the crux of it. Okay. The info plist is kind of like this is the file that tells Stacks and RapidWeaver what files to look for in here. Okay. Because you can name these files whatever you want, but in the plist, we tell them what the names are. And then this plist also is important to tell us like stack information or all the settings and all that jazz are in here. Okay. So that's the structure of it. Now, what I have here is I use an app called Nova. It's from Panic. It's a code editor. Okay. And here is that stack tree that we just looked at in Finder. Okay. And you see the CSS, HTML, JavaScript are all blank. The plist has information. Now you can edit the plist in an editor like this. It's just XML. I don't recommend it. I don't even do that unless I'm doing very targeted specific changes. What I do is I use an app called Plist Edit Pro, and this is made for editing plist files. Okay. There are other apps out there. This is one of the more expensive ones, and since I use it every day, all day, this is the best one on the market. Okay. It's called Plist Edit Pro. App Store has a bunch of them that are like $1 or $2 or whatnot. Okay. But Plist Edit Pro is the bee's knees. It's definitely the best one out there. And the developer is really cool. It's a buddy of mine who lives in San Jose, Brian. Okay, so this is the P list. And inside this P list are a bunch of kind of key value pairs. And a lot of these are required. Okay. So here we have a bundle identifier. This needs to be unique. Okay. And it, a lot of times it's that I used to do com.joeworkman.stacks. Blah, blah, blah. Now I just do like ws. Here I did live stream. Okay. So this needs to be unique for every single stack that's installed. Nothing can be duplicated. If anything's duplicated, you won't see one of them. You only get the first one. Okay. So no matter what the name of the stack is, you have to change this bundle identifier. Okay. Very, very important. Next is your version and your build information. So, version obviously is the version. Build, this is getting into developer stuff. Okay. Then we have things like the add-on author, which is what shows up in the RapidWeaver preferences. Here, this is the name of the icon. So, those icon files that we had, icon_large, icon_large at 2x, blah, blah, blah. Well, that first part of the name is defined actually in two places. RW add-on manager icon set is here. And then there's also this one. This one is for RapidWeaver so that it shows that particular one inside the RapidWeaver preferences in the add-on manager. And then this one, you give it the name, and that's the one that Stacks uses to display the icon inside of the Stacks library. Okay. Bunch of URL stuff. So here's the support URL. If you have an appcast, so you want to supply updates, this is the URL to that. I'm going to gloss over a lot of this stuff. Again, another author field. This one's used by Stacks. Copyright, that's actually not added. That's actually not required anywhere. I add it into all my stacks, but it's actually not a requirement. It's just something I add in there. Custom items, I'm going to gloss over that right now. This is all of your settings. Okay, so this is, you build out all of your settings here. And basically you define out all of these. So do you want a slider? Do you want a color? Do you want a this and that? So there's all kinds of stuff to do inside this custom items. Okay. Deprecated, not going to go over that. URLs, hidden, yes or no. Do you want this to be hidden? Yes or no. So basically, in the stacks library, you can say show hidden stacks. So you can set a stack to be hidden or not. Do everyone a favor, just turn off hidden stacks. Like, you're not missing anything. Okay. If I set a stack to be hidden, it's meant to be hidden. It's probably because you access it from a plus button or all kinds of stuff. So you're just going to see all kinds of stuff that probably confuse you if you have show hidden stacks turned on in stacks. So yeah, just leave it off. Libraries in this particular one. So this is where we can load external libraries. Like, for example, I wasn't sure if we were going to use a JavaScript based library or jQuery one. So this is where you can like tell Stacks to load jQuery, right? We're actually not going to need that in this stack since this doesn't use any JavaScript at all. So I'm going to delete libraries. Nice. Okay. Info URL inline. We'll go over what inline is in a little bit. Let's just save that right now. Minimum APIs, the API version of Stacks. There's a Stacks API version, blah, blah, blah. Then there's a bunch of other stuff. So preprocessor, PHP stuff. So if your Stacks uses some PHP, you might want to look at some of this stuff. Your subtitle, that is the subtitle that shows up in the Stacks library. Okay. Then we have tags. Tags are just make your stack searchable, right? So some keywords and whatnot that you want to make sure people find your stack. Okay. The very first tag in this list, though, is special because that is the group, essentially. When you sort by tags, your stacks are sorted up into kind of groups. Well, that group is the first tag. So the first tag is a little special in this list because that is the group definition. Templates. This is an important one. So templates in here, this is where you define all of my templates. Okay, so I'm telling Stacks in this example here. Remember, I had I wasn't sure what we were going to do, so I created a file for CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, and I just named them each. Okay, so here we define a file, and we have to tell. There's 3 attributes here, okay, that we need to define for each template. Okay, as you see, I have multiple templates here. It's just like in a little array, which is kind of cool, and Here you provide the name of the file. So again, you can name the file whatever you want. Then you have a scope. Okay. And then you tell the type. I'll come back to scope. Okay. So then you have a type. This one in particular is an HTML template. Okay. And if we look further down, I have a CSS template called each.css. And then I have a JavaScript template, so type JS, and that's called each.js. Now, you might be wondering what that scope is, okay? And the scope is like, so in each scope means if I add 5 instances of this stack, I'm going to have 5 instances of that particular piece of code on the page. Okay, so for example, if I have some CSS associated with a stack, whenever I add this page or add a stack to this page, an instance of that template will get added as well. Okay. There's also a scope called page. There are other. Today we're going to be focusing on just each and page. Okay. If you set something to be page scope, which we'll probably end up doing today, it means whenever even if I add 10 instances of that stack to the page, only one instance of that page template will get added. So it's essentially saying, no matter how many instances of the stack, only add this to the page one time. Okay, so we'll see why that is and what that does later on. Now, again, we're not using any JavaScript, so I'm going to delete the reference to the JavaScript file because we're not going to need it. Cool. We're going to save that plist. Okay. And just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and delete this JavaScript file because we're not going to need it. Boom, delete. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at how did you create the dev stack? Oh, sorry, Roy. It's just a folder of files. So I just created the folder structure. Well, to be honest, I actually I just kind of copied an existing one that I had, but it's just folders and files. So you just create the folder, right? So if I were in Finder, I'll just create one here on my desktop. Okay, I just create a folder and call this roy.devstack. Okay, and then inside there, I'd create a new folder. Oops. Well, again, that annoying thing on my machine where on your machine, this dev stack should look like a folder. On mine, I have to right click and say show package contents. And then you can go in here and you can create contents. And then inside there, you can create resources. And then you can add all your files, your info plists and whatnot. So there we go. Now, I guess before we start getting into developer stuff, if we go into the Stacks API, so there is info.yourhead.com/Stacks API. Here, I'll throw this in the chat. Okay. This is the official API documentation from Isaiah from Yourhead. Okay. And if you go into the Stacks API, you can go in and there's all kinds of stuff. And I believe so. He talks about dev stacks here, right? So he talks about dev stacks and yeah, I use this every now and then. Sometimes I forget an option or whatnot. I mean, it's a very large list of docs. Okay, I would say 95% of the APIs are documented here. There are a few odds and ends that maybe Isaiah's added for me or for someone else, and they end up not getting documented for some reason. But yeah, most everything is here. Okay, which is really cool. I'm probably not going to reference this too much today, but yeah, yeah, and he does also have like here he documents the structure of the stack. Okay, all the various icon names that you need, right? So yeah, and he does have somewhere he has some sample stacks actually as well. I think if you go to github.yourhead. Oops. Image fun stack. Like, yeah, he has some stacks here, right? So, Let's see what else he's got. I think he only have the one. Let's see. Stacks API, image fun stack, simple markdown editor. Yeah, I think this image fun stack. This is a sample stack that you can go ahead and play with. So you can download the source code here. I'll throw this in the chat as well. And that is a full-fledged stack. Or maybe later on we can. I'll go ahead and download this, and maybe later on if we have time we can have a look. I'm not sure exactly what this does or what he did, but we can maybe look at it. Okay. And if you see, this is the dev stack that has the contents, that has the info, plist, and the resources. So this is a good place to start. Okay. Sweet. All right. Let's get back to this. So here I have my HTML. So I'm going to go ahead and go into HTML. I'm going to paste that into my HTML. Boom. Okay. Save that. Okay. And then I need the CSS. Now I'm going to have to do a little bit of work because this isn't actually CSS. It's something called Stylus. So we're going to have to do a little bit of work here. Okay. Let's just do this, 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 and we don't need card one. Let's do that, 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 and then we're gonna go and do here. Just bear with me, guys, while I get this done. While I transform this into actual HTML. Give me a second. Let's do that. Okay, let's see. We don't need card. Don't need card 1 or card 2. Delete all of that. Okay. Have to tweak some of that. This we're gonna have to do border hover. Let's see. This is interesting trick. Let's see how they're doing it now. They're fooling us. You know, a lot of web development is smoke and mirrors. It's just like a magician, right? I mean, I get you looking at the left hand and you're not looking at the right hand, right? So much of web development is that. Um, and Yeah, it's a lot of interesting stuff. Once you know, it's kind of like once you know the trick, it's like a magician. It's like once you know the trick, it's like, oh, really? That's it? I'm like, oh man, I was hoping it to be magical, you know? It's so true. It's pretty funny. I think that does it. I think we're good. Border hover, card 0, card hover. I think that does it. All right. We are gonna need this does load Font Awesome, I forgot. So I'm gonna have to load Font Awesome in here. Okay. And luckily Font Awesome is actually supplied by Stacks, at least Font Awesome 4 is. So if you want Font Awesome 4, which luckily looks like this is using, we can load that with Stacks. And here, just to speed things up, I'm going to just do where is that? Styles, features, FA4, open. All right. this, paste it there. All right. So this is how we load in Font Awesome. You go libraries and we say name Font Awesome, type CSS, and it should be golden there. All right. So now our stack is loading, going to load Font Awesome 4. We have our HTML and our CSS set up. Okay. Let's not get rid of this browser yet. Make sure that it all works. Okay. So we haven't previewed this at all, and hopefully this is going to work. But so what this is going to do is we have a container, we have our card, all of our HTML in here, okay, and then here's all of our CSS. Now when I add this to the page, should just work. Let's go ahead and launch RapidWeaver. I'm going to go ahead and launch RapidWeaver. And for fun, I'm going to start a completely new project, so you don't think I'm pulling any smoke and mirrors on you. You can do brand spanking new project file, stacks. Okay. And I'm going to save this in case anything happens. Let's just go ahead and save this. We're going to save it to my desktop. We're going to call it live stream stack. Save that there. Okay. There we go. And let's do home, just because I hate looking at the word untitled page. Okay. Now let's find our stack. We have live stream. Woohoo! There's our live stream stack. Let's go ahead and add it to the page. Interesting. Let's see. Interesting. Wonder. Let's see the URL to these things. Preview here. Interesting. That didn't do what I thought it was going to. What the heck? Okay. Let's see what's going on here. So we have our card. Oh. I didn't convert all that. Oh, I see. Okay. So shoot. Let's do this isn't proper CSS yet. There aren't semicolons after every single line, right? Which is kind of annoying. Okay. 1 second. Let me just go ahead and do this. Take 2 seconds or 30 seconds. Gotta make sure this is valid CSS. There, 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 and there, and there, and there, and there, and there. My goodness. There. All these need semicolons. Now that they're all selected, wham. There we go. Save it. Okay. Now, hopefully, let's see. Let's close that. Oh, there we go. Look at that. We saw the changes directly here. I saved that CSS file, and whoop-ah, we have our changes, right? Pretty cool. Now, if I preview this, okay, nice. Well, it's a little funky, right? But we're getting there. Okay. You notice, I think this card is just getting, it's growing. Okay. But it works. Interesting. Cool. Let's look at the CSS. Max width. Let's see it's on the container. Max. Oh, we have max width is 1280. Well, that's not what we want. Let's do like what 500 something like that. Let's do 500. Wonder why he's doing it like that. Min with 1,000. What is the trick on that? Why is he doing that? He's doing height with 100 VH. Max width. That's perplexing. see what that looks like. Oh, that's the actual. Okay, that's the container. Got it. Okay. Um, so I'm still just working on isolating this. Interesting. Is there other CSS here that is not getting affected? I would expect normally I would expect when I copy paste like something like this, it would just straight up at least mimic things, right? Oh, hold on. Let's fun. For fun, I'm gonna go ahead and let's try a different theme, but Foundation 6, just for fun. Oops. Do I have my blank? I don't have my blank theme installed. Okay. Let's look at what are some Rapid 8 themes. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna use. I always loved Reason from Rapid 7. I always thought that was a good one. Let's see what that does. Ah, interesting. Okay. Oh, you know why? Okay. So, hey, let's back up a little bit. So, container. Oh, hold on. Let's that's we'll delete this Minwix Max with. We don't need any of that. Container is a if you get any of you guys know, container is a special kind of class that's used in Foundation 6. So when I used Foundation 6 theme, it was getting the all the styles from the container stack, which is why things look like that. Okay. So there we go. Lesson number one, a lot of times some of these generic classes, like card is actually another Foundation 6 class. So you might want to make sure that we preface or try to use unique classes and whatnot as you're building out a particular stack. Okay. So there we go. Probably what we'll do is let's change some of these things up. So what do we want? Let's call this live card. Okay, let's call this stack live card. So we're gonna do instead of container, I'm gonna do live dash card dash wrapper. Okay, and then we're gonna paste that in there. Okay, and then we're gonna do here we're gonna do it's called live card. This is the live card border. Okay. Then here we have an H2 and some icons. Okay. Cool. So let's just rename all of those. So that was, I said that was live card border, right? So we're going to change border to be live card border. And this one is live card border hover. And then we have live card. This is going to be live card. Live card. Live card. Live card. Okay. Keep that. Now another thing here, when you're making a stack, you'll notice that there are some styles here that are applying like global styles to H2. You probably don't want to do that within a stack because you know what it you don't want to apply stack to all H2s on the page just by adding a particular stack in there, right? So we're going to scope this out to be live card H2. Right, so now we're only going to do H2s that are inside live card. Okay, we want to be nice about that. We're going to do the same thing for font awesome icons. Okay, there we go. Now everything is properly scoped inside of a live card. Okay, there we go. And let's go back to stacks. Make sure everything is working well. Cool. Okay. Oops. Some of my things. Oh, we want to do, I didn't know what I did wrong. We want to do hover, hover. When we hover over live card, we want that to be opacity 1. Okay. Some of those changes didn't happen. What we're going to do is I'm going to save. Sometimes with dev stacks, you don't necessarily see all the changes right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit RapidWeaver. Sometimes you need to stop and start, start and stop stuff. And I think we can get rid of this code pen now. Get rid of that. Yep, leave page. Thank you very much. Container was set up for 3 cards. Yep, you're right, Carl. I'm just kind of leaving it there for now because that's why it had that height and whatnot. But we still want to make sure we have the display flex and align items and all that jazz. Actually, you know what? You probably don't even need that because we just want the card, I think. Maybe what we'll do is I'm gonna comment that out. And for fun, just go ahead and we're gonna ditch the wrapper as well. I don't think we need that. Okay. I think that will do. All right. So here we get the effect, but it's not centered, right? So yeah, we'll leave the wrapper in there so we can kind of leave that as an option maybe. Just yeah, we'll leave the wrapper in there. And then we'll uncomment this. Yeah, we'll leave it line item centered. That way the card's always centered no matter where you put it. Something like that. I don't know. What would I do if I were to make this? I don't know. We'll leave it like that for now. And now it's centered again. Okay. This text for some reason isn't white though. Why is that? Okay. So now, but so now it's working, right? We have a stack that does this. Now, obviously, this isn't too useful because we don't want to have Al Pacino in all of our stacks, right? we don't necessarily care to have Al Pacino in a card. That's not too useful to us. Okay. So how can we tweak this so that this is useful? Okay. So let's tweak this a little bit. First off, we're going to want to do 2 things. Okay, we want to customize this, right? So we want to be able to customize the name, okay, of Al Pacino. We want to make it whatever we want, okay? And then next we want to change the image, right? I want to define my own image for this. So let's go ahead and let's do that. And to do that, we need to start requiring settings. So right now, let's go ahead and tweak these settings, and let's do the header. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to go into our plist file, and here we go. So, and luckily, what we want for this is an input. So our default is going to be live stream. Okay, and we're going to call this we'll call this header. Why not? Okay. So this is important. The ID is called header. That's very important. And then you can give it a title, and this shows up as the name of the settings in the settings pane. Then you can give it a tooltip, right? So this is the header added to the live card. Okay, there we go. So now let's save that. Now, how do we take the input of this setting and put it into the header here? Okay, so we can do that pretty easily. We do %ID equals header %. And there we go. That's the syntax. So we do %ID equals and then header and then closing percent. So that's the macro to inject the value of a setting into the HTML. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. And there we go. We will see that Stacks noticed that we changed the P list here. And let's go ahead and say Joe Workman, right? And if we preview that, and if I hover over it, guess what? My header says Joe Workman. Pretty cool. I'm very perplexed on why that isn't white. Let's go ahead and have a look really quick. Probably the theme overriding something. Yep, it's the theme. Thank you very much, themes. Man, sometimes themes, man, they're a pain in the boozok. Okay, let's just go ahead and I don't normally like doing that, okay, guys, but yeah, I'm just gonna put in a bang important in there for fun, just for now. Okay. Um, we're running low on time. I've already taken up so much time. So let's go ahead and refresh that. Let's see. Voila. Okay. So now I got the my name in there. Okay, we can customize it to be whatever we want. Now, how do we change this image? Okay, and then we'll go ahead and customize some other things that we want. Okay. So let's go ahead and change that image. So let's go ahead and add an image well. So because this is a background image, I can't the best interface for hold on, let me back up. There's multiple ways to add content that can be editable here within edit mode. Okay. Like for example, actually, we could go ahead and take this header and make it editable here in edit mode. We could do that. Okay. And maybe I can do that really quickly for you. Um there are and for images, right now we're gonna do images. There is a way to drag and drop an image here. But when you do that, it actually kind of creates an actual HTML image tag. But if you notice, we're using this image inside of our CSS. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a drag and drop image in the settings. I tend to like that method more. It's a little bit more flexible. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste this input. Default is going to be nothing. ID is image. The label or the title of the setting is that. And this is the image added to the live card. And the type instead of input is going to be image. Save. Okay. And hopefully we can wait. There we go. So now we have an image well in here that I can then drag and drop an image or do whatever we want, right? So I can go over here and I can put in my image there. Okay. And now, but if you look here, Al Pacino is still being used, right? So we need to take this image and inject that into the CSS. Okay. So if you look here, this is the image used by the CSS. Okay, this is a URL to an image. And instead of this URL to the image, we're going to put in the URL to the image that I want. And it's, for images, is exactly the same as if I were injecting text. I can just do %id equals image. Whoops, something didn't happen right there. What did I do wrong? %id equals image %. Okay, and let's replace both. Go. Now, this particular image is a square image. I'm not sure how that will work in this setup, but let's go ahead and see here. All right, there's my image. And interesting. Nice. So it is scaled, and we need to scale it a little bit differently, right? Or here, let me see if I can find. Do I have a portrait image of myself? I think all I have is square images, don't I? Here, let's just tweak that a little bit. Background size, let's do it like we'll do 500 and we'll scale it up to 800. Let's just tweak those settings there. There we go. Okay. I I mean, yeah, you could tweak those settings to, let's just go a little bit less. Let's do like 700. Let's see how that looks. I wonder how it looks if I did 400 and 600. Let's see. Yeah, I could dig that. I could dig that. There we go. All right. So obviously, I mean, the right image needs to be there, right? And you got to crop it well properly, but we're getting there. Okay. And it's all customized. Okay. Um, let's see. What else can we tweak in here? As you see, we can then start creating settings that go ahead and customize all kinds of settings. Okay, for example, like font family, you probably don't want to hard code that. That's something you'd probably want to, do from the theme or something like that, right? So we'll delete that. How about the colors? So let's say, when you hover over this, Joe Workman is white currently. Like everything is white, and I think it looks nice that it all matches. So all the icons are white. That border is white. Okay, um, it's a little funky that border is. I think I want to tweak the way he coded that because it's not right. Um, I want to change this to be live card wrapper hover live card border. That's what I want. That will be better. Okay. What I did is, if you noticed, for this border, if you unhovered just outside the border would go away. And so I fixed that. Obviously, Stacks already loaded my fixes, right? So now when you hover anywhere over the card, it'll work. There we go. That's better. That's a better implementation there. Okay. Um, so let's go ahead and start customizing that white color. Okay. Let's say I want to have one color setting and it's going to change all of those all at once. Can you make the proportions editable? You had card and card zero. Does that matter? Well, again, I'm kind of getting into, I changed all of that a little bit. You can kind of go back and rewatch this. Remember, I changed card and card zero to live card. Okay. Um, and then we're going to do this color thing, and then we'll go into tweaks we're going to have to make in order to make sure that you can add multiples of these things to our page. Okay. Um, so first off, let's go ahead and tweak the color. Let's go ahead and go here. Let's see this image. Let's do color. Okay. The color used in the live card, and type is going to be color. Default is going to be white. Okay. Hopefully, pretty soon over here, we're going to see there. I have white color now. Okay. So let's go ahead and use that. So basically, wherever we have white here, we're going to substitute our color. So we're going to do percent ID equals color percent. Okay. Box shadow is fine. Where else is white used? There. Oh, there. Fill. Save that. All right, and let's go ahead and change this color. Let's do or like a dark navy blue. Let's see how that works. Oops, just rapid weaver. The white doesn't look too great there, but you see it worked, right? Although, oh, my border isn't unhovering. What did I do there? Oh, interesting. Um, let's do live card hover. There you go. Now that's better. There we go. As you see, it does work. The implementation here would probably be, choose your image, or maybe on hover. I'm not going to do this, but you could add some sort of overlay to the image that darkens it. Um, that's a possibility as well. But yeah. Also, you can maybe add a text shadow to this. I mean, that's we're getting into creating and developing this thing. But yeah, let's wonder if it looks better on like a. No, that looks horrible. Like a lighter blue. I think that's gonna look horrible too. Yeah, yeah. White just looks white just looks best. Okay. Also it would be awesome when you hovered over like maybe the background is like blurred off. Oh man, that'd be great. So that, I was a little bit less detailed, maybe slightly blurred. I don't know. There's so many things you could do, right? But um we're getting off course here. Okay. So I think we're good. Someone wanted to customize the um the sizing. Okay. I think right now, let's see. Right now he does. Okay. I'm just seeing how this guy implemented it. He's like statically sizing everything, which kind of blows. I'll be honest. Like that's not great, right? Because I mean, it's just your card. I guess I mean for cards, it even on mobile, it's never going to go full width, right? But yeah, not the best solution. Okay, because let's say we wanted to use this in a two column environment, right? And put that there, put that there, refresh, right? And then yeah, it kind of works. Well, it's interesting. I thought that would. I didn't think that would work quite so well. It is responsive. Okay. Um, so yeah, maybe we'll tweak the height setting. Let's add an option for height. Okay. And then we'll be done adding settings. Okay. So height is interesting. It's slightly different. Um, so we'll go here. Default is what's his default? Let's just keep his defaults here. Height is 379. Okay. Let's do we'll do 400. Okay. ID is height. Okay. Now the type here is called. Let's do a number. Okay, you can do slider if you wanted the number slider. And then for this, since this is going to be defined in pixels, we're going to do units is another value here, and I'm going to add px. All the options for all of these, they're in the Stacks API docs. I'm not going to go through all of that, just so you guys can kind of see. Make sure that I did that right. Height 400 pixels. Okay, so let's start. Let's start this. Let's do percent ID equals HEIGHT percent. Okay. And you have to leave the PX there because all that Stacks is going to do is inject the number. Okay. Now in this, the border in this implementation is based off the height. Okay. So what we need to do here is I'm going to change this to be um I think that'll do it. So essentially the height is dynamic. We're going to do a height based off this height. So we want to subtract 10 from this. There is a way to do that within the Stacks API. I don't want to dive into that right now. So some CSS calc function should do it for us just perfectly. Okay. So now, so if we go here, okay, we're going to set our height to 350. Okay. And then let's preview. And voila. Now here, if you look, when I set it to 350, some of those icons got a little shifted. Not sure why that is. Those icons have a height top. Oh, they go. Oh, what? Why would you do that? That's stupid. I think that'll fix that. All right, there you go. That kind of fixes that. Okay. Maybe that was a little bit too much. If I do, let's just bottom 0. Let's see what that does. Yeah, there we go. Boom. Score. Okay. So, there's our stack. I'm not gonna. There's so many other settings we could tweak. We could tweak box shadows. We could tweak widths. We could do all kinds of stuff. Okay. But there's one other thing that we need to know. Okay. And if we look here, I'm going to go ahead and change this to be live stream, or let's hold on. Let's do, we'll do, oops. We'll do Business Joe on this card. Okay. Let's go ahead and change the image to be, Business Joe. Okay. Wait, what happened, Joe? Oh no. So if you notice, when I changed this second one, it changed over here. What's up with that? Okay. And that is because of the way we coded our stack. Okay. So if we look at this CSS, I say live card, set the background to this image. And then when we add the second stack to the page, it also has CSS that says live card, add this image. And what it does is it finds all live cards on the page and injects it. Well, how in the heck are we going to fix that? Okay. I'm going to teach you the really simple way. Okay. And this is how we did it this is how stacks worked for like 8 or 9 years. Okay. And that was this inline function. Now, any stack that I develop now, I set inline to yes. But if you are just starting, you should probably set inline to no. Okay. And let's see what that does. I might need to restart RapidWeaver for that change. Let's see. Oh, kind of worked. Look at that. Okay. So you'll notice when I added inline no, all of a sudden I got like a ton of settings in here that I didn't add. Okay. And essentially, by default, even if you just don't have this inline setting there at all, okay, so if I just delete that inline setting, okay, this is what a stack provides. And then all your custom settings are at the bottom, okay? So what does this give us? This changes our HTML a little bit, okay? And, I should have shown you what the HTML looked like before, okay? But let's go ahead and let's look at these. I'm going to go ahead and look at one of these. And it's right there. Okay. So this is our stack that we added to the page. Okay. And it has all of our code. And what you'll notice in here is that now this wasn't there before. I didn't show you the code before. Okay. We have an ID here. Okay. And what happens is when you add that inline equals no, or just by default, Stacks will add a specific ID to each of these. And what that ID gives us is it means that we can then, with that ID, target a particular stack. So, what I'm gonna do is right now I'm gonna show you how everything was. So basically, we don't need to change anything in our HTML, but inside of our CSS, we need to go in our CSS, and before every single CSS rule, we need to add hashtag %ID %, okay. So what this does, so %ID %, that is the ID that Stacks assigns to your instance of Stacks, to your instance of a stack. Okay. And then we need the hashtag because that's in CSS. That's how we target a particular ID. So if we go ahead and save that, let's see how Stacks is going to do its magic here. Boom. So once I added that, we now have all of our settings in our CSS are now styled specifically to each one of these. Okay. So if I go ahead and let's preview that. Now all of these are generic. Pretty cool. Nice. So what if we didn't? I'll teach you. This is going to be a little advanced, okay? But I in particular love inline, okay, stacks, mostly because it reduces the number of settings. There's a lot of times we don't need any of those other settings up at top, right? So this just makes things extra clean. Now this is my top secret. Okay, this is my secret on how I do things now. Okay. How do we do this now? How do we not have an inline stack but still target things generically or I'm sorry, specifically to my instance? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that special ID that Stacks gives us, and I'm going to add it to the class of my wrapper. Okay. And I actually don't need it at all for that. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do, let's just change all of these. I'm going to change all of those to be that. Okay. So what I did is I've changed hashtag %ID to be .%ID, because what that's now going to do is that's going to target the class of the stack ID. And that only works because I added the ID as a class to my stack. Okay. Any Stacks developers in there, I'm giving you some top secret insider information here. And that's how I develop everything nowadays. Most things. Okay. There are other tricks and other things, but there is a top secret trick there. Okay. So now if we go back here, we notice I have my inline stacks and they work. Now for fun, let's go ahead and look at the code for these. And what we'll notice here, okay, is inside here, you probably don't remember, but there were 2 extra divs that were wrapped around. Okay. Now I do have to say, you have to, if you're going to do inline stuff, you have to know what you're doing, because those stack div wrappers give you a layer of protection of leaking your styles outside, and you have to know what you're doing. Okay. But it's a very cool trick. Okay. To get you these streamlined settings over here, and still allow you to have styles specific to a instance of a stack. Okay. Now, one last thing, one last cleanup effort that I think we can do, okay, is, if you remember, this CSS file is an each scoped, which means for every instance of a stack, so if let's go ahead and look at the source code for this page. It's really big. Bigger. Okay. If we look at the CSS generated for this page, okay, you'll see that a lot of the styles are duplicated multiple times. For example, here's a live card wrapper. Okay, there's the CSS that we have that we added here. And if we scroll down somewhere, there it is again. Now this CSS is generic, right? There's nothing special about this. I only need this CSS one time. Okay, so what can we do to optimize this so that the amount of CSS that's generated inside of our stack is less? Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate this file and I'm gonna name it page.css. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is inside page.css, okay, I'm only gonna have the styles that have no settings at all. Okay, so that particular this one has a setting. I can leave those. This has a setting. I can delete that entire rule. Let's see. This has a setting. Settings do not work inside the page scope, so it needs to be basically static. Static CSS. Okay. We'll delete all of that. Okay. Let's see. Here's a setting. Here's two settings. Okay. And then on top of that, we are going to delete all of the .id dots. Okay. So we're going to find all of those and we're going to delete them. Boom. All right. So now this is our page CSS. And this is basically generic styles that are going to be everywhere. Right. Some of this is potentially funky. I'm not going to try to debug or improve any more of these styles. Okay. All right. So let's save that. Let's go to our each CSS. Now I'm going to delete all of those generic styles and only have styles that have settings. So let's go ahead and keep that. We're going to delete all of that. Keep that. We're going to delete all of that. I need to keep all of that. We're going to delete that. We're going to delete that. We're going to delete all of that. There we go. That's a much smaller bit of CSS. Let's just clean up some of this empty white space. So it's here. Now we can see all in one view. We have 24 lines of CSS. Okay. Save that. Now what we need to do is we need to go to our info plist and we need to tell Stacks that we have this new CSS file. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that. And we're going to do the name of a file. I call it page.css. Page. For any Stacks devs out there, another thing that I've used that I've been using for quite a few years is that I always name the file what the scope is. Right? I used to like name instead of each.html, I used to call it like template.html or something like that. But I found that if I'm editing, like if I see this each.html, I know that I'm intending this to be each scoped. And if I look at this page.css, I know that this is going to be a page scoped CSS file. So that I don't need to reference, so I don't need to remember in all of my stacks what things are. So basically what I do is I take the scope and I name it the file. Okay. So another golden stack tip, developer tip there for you. Okay. Now I know for a fact when I add a new template in Stacks, I need to restart RapidWeaver. So we're going to go ahead and let's just save this project file. We're going to quit. And then we're going to launch RapidWeaver again. I see the chat's going. Sorry. I'll have a look at it before we exit and answer any questions. Wish I got a glass of water before I started. Getting a little dry mouth here. Okay, so we're not going to see any difference here, but let's go ahead and look at edit mode or preview. And look, everything's working, right? And if we go ahead and let's preview in the browser and inspect, we go to sources and then we look at the stacks CSS file. Okay. At the very top, here's like live card wrapper and all that jazz. Okay. And as we scroll down to the bottom, here's all of the CSS that gets generated by our stacks. And it's a lot less, right? So huge tip there. Okay. That's how we can make our stacks more performant. Pretty cool. Okay. Go. One other thing. So if you notice here inside, let's go back to edit mode. We look here in edit mode. We don't see, all we see is the image, right? And that's because the styles that we're seeing here are basically the default styles, because all that content that we see here is only unveiled on hover, right? So what can we do? How can we fix that? All right, so that in edit mode, we can at least see that content. Okay. So there's a couple things we could do. What I want to do is we're going to create some styles that are specific to edit mode. Okay. And I'm going to do it inside of the page CSS file. You could do it in either file. Okay. But I think in this case, I only need it inside the page. So to do this, there's some more kind of CSS or Stacks API jargon here. And this syntax is a little funky. Okay. Square bracket, if edit, square bracket, percent. Okay. So if edit. And then the corresponding closing tag for that is end if. Okay. So anything I put inside here is only going to show up in edit mode. Okay. And there's all kinds of different variations of this. You could do exclamation point edit, which is if not edit. So that means if preview and if publish. If you only wanted to target preview, you can do if preview. Okay. You can target, if you only wanted something to happen on publish, you can do if publish. Okay. So on and so forth. Okay. In this case, we wanted if edit. So we want to target edit mode. Okay. And there's a few things that we want to do. I want to do this. Okay. So I want to take off the hover components here. Okay. So live card H2 is always going to be inside edit mode. It's always going to be opacity 1. And all the icons are also going to be opacity 1. Okay. And then there was the border, right? Is that set to be each class border? Oh, that one shows up on hover because by default the border doesn't have a border. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have to do this twice. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and copy this. We're gonna save that in the page. We're gonna go over to the edit mode. Let's paste that. And then what I want to do is I'm going to tweak this. I'm going to paste that in there. Then we're going to override this in edit mode. And there we go. Okay. So in edit mode, I'm going to apply this CSS, which will override the rule above. Okay. Let's go ahead and save that. Oh, and there we go. In edit mode, we see our image. We have our header. Our border is there. And as you see, if I click on this, we can go ahead and tweak the colors, and I can see the colors right there inside edit mode. Boom. Cool. There we go, guys. Pretty slick, right? Um, let's see. Okay. You know what? I think that's pretty full featured. I think for our first introduction to stacks, creating stacks, I've done quite a bit here. Okay. Um, there we go. I like that. Very cool. And you know what? You could build this implementation here. Here, brownie points for people that can do this. This entire thing that we just built, you can totally build this with swatches. It would not be that difficult. It's purely just setting a background image. Okay. Let's just analyze what this is doing. All it does is it has a background image. It changes the background image on hover. It has a header that it hides it by default and it shows it on hover. Has a bunch of icons that it shows on hover, and it has this little inset border that again it just shows that particular thing on hover. Okay, none of this can't be done using Foundation 6 swatches. Obviously, if this were a stack, this would, it obviously makes a lot of that simpler, but you could totally make this with swatches. And yeah, I want to see someone build this out with swatches and post it on the community. I would love to see that. It's an interesting challenge. And if you want to join my hangout on Friday and show it off, that'd be awesome. Or just post the community. If you do that and you post it to the community and share it with everybody on how you did it, I'll have a prize for you. Okay. First person to do it. So go ahead, build something else that's, similar to this with swatches. I want to see it. Okay. You're not going to have to use any custom CSS. You can build this with swatches. I was going to do that during this live stream as well. I thought it'd be fun as I was building this. I thought, hey, we could totally make this with swatches. But I've already been going for an hour and a half, and I don't want to waste any more of your time. So go ahead and build this with swatches. If you do it, post it on the community for everybody to see and learn from. I'll give you a prize. Okay. So last bit of information. Okay. So hopefully you guys enjoyed learning kind of a little bit of the back end on how a stack is made. I know I went over a lot of things really quickly, and there's a lot going on here. You have to know CSS. You have to know, to tweak this stuff. You really got to know it. Okay. You can do copy paste for a certain amount. Okay. And this kind of goes into some of my warnings. I know there are some users out there that, your entrepreneur users out there that are like, wow, that's really cool. I can make a stacks business out of this. And yes, you can. I do it. And I welcome having lots of stacks developers out there and getting more. I would love to see more awesome developers out there. Okay. But remember, you have to support these things. So if you take money from someone for a product, make sure that you support them. Make sure that you know how to bug fix things so that when the thing that you're has issue, the thing that you're making has issues on mobile devices, you're gonna have to know how to troubleshoot that and fix it. So just keep all that in mind. I know, we try to sometimes we try to make a quick buck. Okay. I'm not gonna try to sugarcoat this. A lot of times some people try to make a quick buck. And yeah, just be conscious of other users, right? When you're doing that. If you're making something and you think it's cool and you want to give it away as for free, I did that for a year and a half or 2 years or something like that, right? I made stacks and I gave them away for free. And yeah, like the web was a much simpler place back then. But we've grown over the last 12 years. So things are definitely complex. Not saying that, you can't have a simple stack that works really, really, really well. I'm sure you can, but just be conscious of other users that you have to support them, that you have to be able to, ship out, updates and things of that nature. So, yeah, just take that. If you want to start a stacks business based on this live stream, please take that bit of advice as well. I would appreciate that. But if you just want to make some stacks and give them away for free, hey, you can't beat free sometimes. So if you want to share with the community, Post them on the community site. Eventually, I will have a place where we can have like community downloads. I'm working on it. Total CMS 2 can't come fast enough. I'll just say that, right? I'm working on it. So take care, everyone. Oh, let me look at the chat box. Let me see if I missed anything. Audio this week has been very good. Cool. Thank you, Mr. Cole. Question: if the stack was dropped into a Total CMS project, do we need to code anything extra for Total CMS macro to work in, say, the header input field? Very good question, Sarah. So as long as in this case, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. I caught myself before I went too far. So as long as the contents of the setting goes into the HTML, you can use Total CMS macros all you want. So in this particular example, if I wanted to use a macro in here, so I could use CMS, text header, okay, that will 100% work, right? So, as long as the outputs of these settings, again, are inside the HTML, they will work. Macros will not work in CSS. Macros will not work in JavaScript. They have to be in the HTML. Okay. So there you go. Good question. Thank you, Sarah. Dr. Bob says, Chris, you have your challenge. Go ahead. So yeah, go ahead and make this. Actually, here, before I leave, okay, let's go ahead and drag this up there. I will put here's the download link to the stack we just built. There you go. Have fun. There is the download link. I just put it in the chat. It will. I'll keep there as long as I can. Hopefully. So yeah. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that. Oops. What happened to my? Oops. Something happened to my live stream. I can't go back to. I don't know what I hit a shortcut key. Now I can't go back to the full. Oh, there it goes. Cool. There we go. Cool. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you learned a little bit. I'm sure there was some, glossy-eyed stuff going on, and hopefully a lot of it didn't go over your head too much. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Got a little bit insight. If you are a developer and you learned some of the cool little tips and tricks that I do, that I've made things a little bit more modern in my workflow. I do have to say, I only scratched the surface of Stacks development. Really did. There's so much more into it. Obviously, we went over the basics, the raw basics. And I don't know if you enjoy this, maybe we could do a little bit more in the future. But if not, we'll see you guys on Friday at the Hangout. And I can't wait to see who wins that challenge first and builds this in swatches. So take care, guys. We'll see you next week. If I don't see you on Friday, bye. Oh, one more thing. Summit. Go ahead and get your Weaverspace Summit. I'm going to be working on an email by Friday that should have a few of the speakers and a few more details. If you have any questions, please post them on the community, and we can go ahead and chat about the summit and all that jazz. So cool. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.